So for today's podcast, because I think I decided I'm going to call this a podcast and just go that direction, I want to talk about micro shifting because that's where I left off on the rabbit trail. So this is something that I've kind of taken on for myself because I'm in the midst of some huge transitions and making a huge pivot in direction and going in a certain space and place that I'm not really comfortable with. And it's overwhelming. Like, it's so much to have to uproot and have to change, not just in my physical reality, but like in my mental, emotional reality, even in my spiritual reality. And it's a lot. What I believe is like your physical location and like where you are and the things that you do throughout the day are also reflective of your spiritual locality. So like where you are in the physical is also like in the energetic spiritual realms is where you are there as well. And because we could tune into those realms, but we can't quite see them. We can use our physical location and the circumstances we come into, the people we interact with and things like that to help us to navigate this spiritual realm as well. And so when you are in your physical realm, you recognize that, things are not quite the way that you need them to be, or you don't quite like where you are, or it's just not a good fit, or you're outgrowing a situation. Then, that is a good sign that at a spiritual level too, you're trying to pivot and get to a different space. And this is your way of doing that, because I feel like you're navigating two realms, or actually multiple realms, but for the sake of this podcast, we'll just talk about this specific, time space. Like you're navigating these two different things. And so it's kind of like like your own GPS of like where you are in these spaces. So when you're making this huge shift like that, you might pick up that like you're in the wrong spot and you need to make these massive shifts. And so when that happens, you could get overwhelmed and feel like it's too much to do at once. You can feel a sense of needing to procrastinate. So to help from becoming just frozen in fear, like a deer in the headlights, it can be helpful to like break it up into small tasks, like little micro movements or micro shifts that you can do to kind of get to a different space, to like pivot into a space. So that's what I've been working on lately. What I do is I think of what is the big picture that I'm trying to do? What do I need to do each day in order to try to get to a destination or landing point that I'm trying to get to? And sometimes that destination point, once I get there, I realize that it's not a fixed destination or a fixed point, but that it's like, it seems like it's a fixed point, but as you come up on it, you see that it extends even further into the horizon. All right. So it's like you get there and then it's like, oh, but there's this and then there's that. Very different though from not practicing gratitude and feeling like, oh, I need more. That's not what I'm speaking of. I'm talking about the action of being in movement and being in the flow of what your life is unfolding for you, and recognizing that there's not one single point that you're trying to get to, but that it's this continuous journey. That's more so what I'm trying to say. And then in the process of being in this journey, having gratitude and being grateful for everything you have in each moment, and letting the culmination of all those moments of feeling gratitude and feeling grateful for what you have become the patchwork, the fabric of this state of being in a journey that that's full of meaning and purpose for you, whatever that might be. So I have always been a person to where like I will either procrastinate because I don't want to get stuff done and it's just so daunting, or being like perfectionistic to the point that I feel that if I try to do something and it doesn't work out the way that I want it to, that's worse than just not doing it at all. And I feel like it's a horrible, horrible trap to put yourself in, because you can look up and find that you haven't really gone in the direction that you wanted to. It's not so much about like judging yourself according to what other people are doing or versus what you feel like you're not doing, but more so looking at yourself in a very realistic manner and asking, have I done what I wanted to do? Like, what am I trying to do? Like, what am I doing here? What is this journey about for me? Like, what am I trying to experience? And am I allowing myself to experience that? Because even if you don't take action to do the thing that you feel like is most in alignment with who you are, you're taking action to do something. You're taking action every single day. Even non-action is taking an action, because you're creating an experience for yourself that may or may not be in alignment with what you want to experience. And on top of that, if you're not doing that for yourself, if you're not laying the groundwork for yourself, somebody else is laying the groundwork for you. So you're never not just moving, whether it's just like you're at the mercy of the universe and you're just moving, or if somebody else is kind of dictating where you're going to go and kind of moving you around. You have to ask, like, is it in alignment? You know, sometimes being at the mercy of the universe is good for you because that's in alignment with what you want anyway. But like, do you really want to be at the mercy of others that may not have your best interest? You know, 9 times out of 10, if they're moving you around in the first place and they have the gall to do that, is probably not in your best interest. And that's why they have to take those kind of tactics, because you wouldn't naturally do that on your own. So you get that trickery energy, you know? So, I have really had to take stock and account in my own life about how much I have allowed myself to be moved around by others. And it's not so much that I feel like these people have had nefarious intentions or they just wanted to like bring me down. I think that they just have their own agendas for themselves and they want to see their own survival. They want to see their own sense of fulfillment and purpose, and maybe they have not developed that outside of taking advantage of other people or needing other people to undergird that. And you know, all people want to survive. All people want to live and thrive and do whatever they think it is that they need to do to give meaning to their lives. But I don't have to, you know, sacrifice myself or give myself over to people who are not in alignment with who I am so that they can have meaning, while ultimately disrespecting the meaning or devaluing the meaning that I would give to my own life and my own experience. I feel like that has been at the core of a lot of things that I've been coming to terms with and really seeing, because I tend to be a person like really developed a lot of my worth and my sense of value and purpose off of giving away of myself to others and always undergirding myself or feeling like I can't have this because this person needs this, or this person is more important, or this person is that. And I feel like there's a lot of honor and importance in people caring for others and trying to be there for others. But when you're doing it at a space and you're doing it from a place of not caring for yourself, then it's not an honor. It's actually a dishonor. And it's going to not breed energies that lead to harmony and happiness and hope and health and all these things that we think, or we get guilted into believing that that's what we're doing. It leads to quite the opposite. It's going to have an undergirding of resentment and passive aggressiveness and sabotage and all kinds of stuff, because that's what you're doing to yourself. So how can you actually be throwing away all your hopes and dreams, throwing away all of who you are to try to fit into this idea of what you're supposed to be so that you can better this other thing, when the energy that you're bringing to it is coming from a place of self-sabotage. It's coming from a place of not being personally fulfilled and not having respect and honor and love for yourself. You have to be able to have that from within before you can ever begin to give that out to any other person, to give that out to any other thing. It's going to reflect that back. Like, even if on the outside it's shiny and beautiful and it's all that, it'll look like that, but underneath is something rotten and not right, and you can smell it, and it's just not what is being presented. But it just takes poking that little hole in it to let all the putrid stuff just pour out. And the good thing about that, though, is like when that happens, it offers an opportunity to rinse and clean out, almost like an infection that you would have where you have to poke a boil and they rinse out the infection or whatever, and then it can heal. So, that's a way of rinsing out and allowing true healing. Because self-sacrifice that comes from a place of self-hate and self-loathing and not valuing yourself just leads to more harm and like a deeper, unfathomable amount of perpetuation, of legacies, of self-denigration and not being true to yourself and not honoring yourself. And I feel like this ties back into my last podcast. See how we come full circle on these here. Talking about, selling your soul, basically, because it's not always about this story of like, these fancy blood contracts with the devil or whatever. It's simple. It's like very simple, subtle things like that. Like, you're just selling yourself out because at some level you feel like you don't have value or purpose, and the ultimate that you can give, that you're trying to buy value for yourself with something that you don't value. So you're going to sell yourself cheap and short, when the best thing that you can do is to invest in yourself and put energy into being your best self, allowing yourself to live, allowing yourself to see the light of day so that you can show up in the way that is best for you. And if you've already done that, or if you find yourself in situations where you're like, wow, I'm so far off from where I would like to be, like you just see this light one day and you realize, wow, like I'm pretty bomb, or I'm pretty awesome, or damn, I could be this, I could do that, all I have to do is this, and I didn't see this correctly. That's a time when you could be overwhelmed and feel like it's too late or you can't do anything. But when you use or think about it in terms of micro shifts, it allows you to do a little bit of something each day to honor who you are, to honor the path and the journey that you're on, so that you can get yourself slowly but surely into a better space. And it's not a specific destination you're getting to. It's a state of being that you're shifting into by taking action and moving yourself in certain directions and doing certain things, saying certain things to certain people, seeing yourself a certain way. And then your entire world around you will start to shift because things won't fit that fit before, or ideas that you had that didn't quite like seem like they were going to open up for you, or you couldn't figure out how that could even come together. You just get these ideas, or you just see opportunities that you couldn't see before because you were in a different locality. And so you had different things in your purview and it wasn't an option. But then when you make that little shift, just doing those little things, it just starts to open up like all these different webbed paths of possibility for you. I mean, I'm seeing it like in my mind's eye. It's almost like this, organic womb that just kind of opens up, and you can be birthed into these different possibilities that are closed off to you if you are not valuing yourself, or you're not taking action each day to change the butterfly effect around you, okay, of how your actions and your behaviors and how you interact with your environment ripple effect out and change things for you. One of the biggest things that I've been kind of dealing with in exercising this micro shifting is this intense feeling of like, not remorse, but just being like, wow, I could do better, or wow, I could be in this different space, or wow, there's so much difference. I could make such a difference, and I want to just get there now because I feel myself being in that space that because I'm shifting my being. It's not about like where I'm trying to get to, but it's being in the state of being in that space already. And it's just like this deep sense of like, wow, I can't get there fast enough. I need this to mirror how I'm actually feeling. And then the other part of it is just having a lot of grace and compassion for oneself in the process of feeling like this intense download and this washing over energy of like where you can be. And because you are in that state and that energy of that, and then having forgiveness and grace on yourself for not being in that space now, because nothing illuminates that more than being in the energy and vibration of something fabulous for yourself, or just the thing that will bring you more peace or that's more in alignment with you. And then looking around in your environment and recognizing just how much you are not in that space and how much you have compromised yourself or your values or your sense of what you deserve and what you will accept in life to being in spaces like that. And then you also have to look at the forgiveness aspect for individuals in your lives that have kind of fed into that or fed off of you not being in the best state or not seeing what's best for you, and the role that they played. It's a huge pivot from looking at it from being like in a victim mentality, like, well, this person perpetuated this to me, as opposed to I placed myself in a situation with these individuals and people are doing the best they can with what they have, and how you present yourself as an actor in the play of life and how they interact with you as based off what script are you reading from. And so they're going to interact with you accordingly. And when you do that, you have to, it allows you to show some grace and compassion, not just for yourself, but like how other people have dealt with you and interacted with you while you were on a certain vibration, while you were interacting in a certain way on a certain program, So, I guess next time on the next one, I'll talk about maybe forgiving yourself and others for the roles that they play in your story. Looking at that way, forgiving others for the roles they play in your story, or the roles you give them that you are cast them for, So, all right, so that is my podcast for the day. Until next time.